Okay, so welcome to Tundra. Now for this map, the main points are going to be over this side and this side. Yeah, you can go down the middle, although you're not really, one, going to see anyone, and the people that you don't see are going to shoot you. So there's no use going down this middle bridge unless the time is allowing for it. So, you know, you're in a situation where you can actually go over this bridge and not get shot at. To go over the bridge, you're going to need to win two things. You're going to need to win the hill and probably down here and around this area, because otherwise you ain't getting across that hill without taking a lot of hits. Heavy tanks and the more well-armoured medium tanks, the slower medium tanks, can go around here, battle it out. As long as you have some armour, you're pretty much fine here. The faster heavy tanks can try and take the hill, although I don't recommend it, because if you try and go up here and you're too slow, you then get stuck here, and if you don't have gun depression, you're absolutely screwed. And I mean, where else are you going to go? You have to go all the way back around to go over to here. So if you are in a heavy tank, it's best to go over this side rather than sitting here, unless you're in like an Emil 2 or something, you know, Cranvar, whatever, someone that has good gun depression. You can go here and sit here quite happily. But this gets a little bit stalemate kind of area, because everyone's going to sit here and everyone's going to sit here, and then one person will probably go here, die, and then another person from this side will go here and die, and then you're just waiting until one person makes a mistake. So it's kind of stale here, but if you actually win the hill, then you can actually get some shots down on people. So whoever takes the hill has a better chance of winning this area. So remember that's quite important. So light tanks, very fast medium tanks, try and get the hill, but you don't want to get there too slow, because as I've already said, you're going to get shot. So always read the enemy team's lineup. If they've got similar tanks to you, chances are they're going to try and do the same thing. So just be warned, and always make sure that you know what you're up against. TDs, you can sit over here, and you can also kind of just chill around the middle area, because if your team loses the hill, then you're going to need someone from over this side to shoot on them, because they've got a kind of shooting position from here, here, and here, and vice versa on the other side, here, here, and here. So TDs at the back here, here, and around here, basically wherever you want for this side. But the main points for over here are there and there. There's not really any point going over here in your TD unless you want to try and shoot early on in the middle, which I'll show you later on in the video. But yeah, that's basically all the spots. Let's now move into more detail on them. Okay, so starting off with the light tanks, as we always do. Now, I'm going to show you the hill first, and this is going to count towards some of the medium tanks as well. It just depends all on how fast your tank is. But what you want to do, just as soon as possible, try and get up to this hill. Now, this bit here is where I'm saying about that you're going to take some hits. Because if you're slow, then if you're in an EBR, just go for the hill straight away. You might as well. There's not really any other spots on the map that are important to you than this hill. Because if you control this hill, you control basically this entire bit of the map. Like everywhere that you can see and you have view range, you can control near enough, as long as you do have good view range. But I mean, like, just look how much you can actually see. Like, we've spotted him, no issues. But once you are up here, then you can go into these bushes or even just behind them, and then you can shoot down on the enemies, because they're going to be shooting right over. Well, sorry, they're going to be sitting right around this location here. So you can just pull back here. Make sure you're double bushed, as long as you're not in an EBR, because it's too low profile. But you can keep making pot shots at people, and eventually you'll whittle them down to basically no health. But you need to be careful when you're crossing this, because this is the danger zone and the dead zone that can happen if you're in a slower vehicle. But yeah, there's plenty of spots up here, as I've already stated. You know, you got shooting posts from here, here. If you're in an STB1, then this spot any of these spots over here are great, because you can go hold down and just use your gun depression to your advantage. So yeah, that's the hill. I'm going to speak a little bit more about it later on with the medium tanks, because I'll show you the spots either side. But yeah, that's light tank spot number 1. Okay, light tank spot number 2 is basically right at spawn. Now, the reason why you'd want to go into this spot is to counter another spot on the other side of the map. But what you want to do is just get into this bush and just sit here for a second. one, you're going to spot absolutely anyone that is going to cross into the cap circle, and you may even get lucky and find someone that's trying to go down the middle, although it's quite rare that people will do it straight at the start of the game. But the other spot that I'm talking about is these bushes over here. Now, people will love to sit in these bushes. Why? Well, quite frankly, you can spot absolutely everyone that's going onto the hill at the start of the game. So that will give you massive info for your team right at the start of the game. And you can then shoot at them if you want to, or if you have a TD, you can then you can let them shoot and get all the spotting damage. This position over here is very powerful at the start of the game, which I'll show you in a second. You can also try and go up onto the hill, well, this little hill here, to get some like starting spots off, but you're going to be spotted pretty much instantly. Only do this maybe if you know you've not been spotted yet, and then you can go up here, try and spot anyone that's crossing. It's just unfortunate that this side doesn't really have a position that you can actually reliably spot them. I mean, sure, you can go down here, but you're not really spotting too many people. As you can see, it's not really the best. So yeah, that's spot number 2. Let's now move on to the other side of the map so I can show you that position. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, little Pater Noob in his little micro mouse. So this spot up here is what I'm going to show you. Now, you can go into either one of these bushes, although this bush to the left is a lot better. Just because you're a little bit closer, so you don't have to use as much view range. But as you can see, look at the view range that you have. Anyone that comes across here, you're going to spot, especially if they're a fat, big old heavy tank. Like, you're going to spot them easily. The faster little light tanks like an EBR, you might not spot. It just depends on how good your view range is. But, you know, if you sit in this spot right at the start of the game, then you're going to get loads of vision. And that spot over there counters this spot, and you know, it's pretty nice to have. You're actually pretty safe as you're coming up to that spot as well as this spot, because you're behind a hill. But if you get here first and you're kind of, you know, already sitting here, then you shouldn't be spotted by them unless, you know, they got there before you. If they have insane view range, then they will spot you, no problem. But you should be okay in this position. And this position is very powerful early on in the game, as I've already said. Okay, so medium tanks. Now, this position is nice, but you need some gun depression, as I've already mentioned. So Emil 2s, STB 1s, you know, stuff like that. If you don't have gun depression, you're going to have to push up way too far, and it's just exposing way too much of your tank to be able to actually use this position effectively. Now, I've already mentioned that, you know, you can go up here, but there is this position right here, which you're relatively safe from everything else, and you can then just keep peeking down and then go back up. Yep, there's not really too much to this position. Over here is where you'll probably find quite a few tanks that are just sitting here, so if you can go into that position, then you're pretty good. And then just keep peeking them backwards and forwards. Or even better than that, you can go all the way up to the top, and then, you know, shoot down, as I've already mentioned. So as long as you have gun depression, you can use this position pretty reliably. Let's now move on to over here, and then we'll move on to the heavy tanks. Okay, so this position over here. Now, some heavy tanks can go here. You can use it, it's just not really the best place to go for your heavy tanks. You got some solid cover by these houses, as you can see. Can't be destroyed. So, I mean, some of them can be destroyed, like this one, for example. But the majority of them, like this, can't be destroyed. So you can actually use these as solid cover from anyone that's shooting you from over there. And then you can use this house right here as solid cover, shoot anyone, pull back, and as long as you don't have like a super long tank, you should be relatively safe. So anyone that's sitting over there, you can just keep being really annoying to them. And it even works over there. There's not really anywhere to go hold down on, which is the biggest issue with this kind of spot. In nowadays World of Tanks, everything's kind of gone down to that hold down meta. You know, you got tanks like the Chieftain, the Super Conqueror, IS-7. It doesn't really matter. Even STB-1. You want to try and find that hold down location, because the majority of tanks have insanely good armor on the turret front, and then, you know, most of them have a weak point. Unlike the Chieftain and the Super Conqueror. Yep, then we're just going to ignore that. Well, they do have weak points, but it's like stupidly hard to hit if they're actually going hold down well. But yeah, so this spot is pretty nice. You're going to need to side scrape, you know, try and make it work for you, because it's not just like a go there and then just sit there kind of position. You're going to have to try and think about it quite well before you know, make up your mind of where you want to go. You can also sit into this position here. You've got some solid cover, as I've already said, about this location here. But heavy tanks can also go here. But now, speaking about the heavy tanks, let's move on to them. Oh, good old 277. Okay, so heavy tanks. Now, I've already basically mentioned most of the spots on the map that you can go with a heavy tank. So the only other spot to go is here. Now, you should be going here with most heavy tanks. There's not really anywhere else on the map that you could go. Unless you are, as we've already spoken about, got good gun depression and go over there. If you're in something like a Mouse and a Type 5 Heavy, just don't bother going anywhere else, because you're going to be too slow to go anywhere. And chances are, nowadays, World of Tanks, you're going to be out of the charge anyway. So by the time you get here, the battle's already won or lost, so your fate has been decided. But yeah, over this side, you just want to be poking this. If you're not poking this, then you're just doing it wrong. There is no point of going basically anywhere else. I mean, you can go there, but then you're exposing your hull armor too much. So again, there's no point of really going there. It can work because you keep popping out, taking shots, and then pulling back, and you got solid cover from artillery and stuff. But it honestly, you might as well try and go here rather than doing that, because this location is only exposing your hull armor, sorry, your turret armor. And even a 277 can make this work. Like, it's not got great gun depression, as you can see, like basically none. But it still makes it work. Like, most of the tanks are going to be about this height anyway. So if they're actually like challenging you, then you can easily just go hold down and just, you know, shoot on them. Yes, I said shoot, not but over there is where a TD will probably sit, and also over, not in that bush, but along this kind of line here, a lot of TDs might sit. Now, you got to be careful of this when you're trying to push forwards, because if you push forwards and you think, oh, it's nice and clear, as soon as you push forwards, you get spotted, you're dead instantly. It doesn't really matter what health you are, because if they have, what, 1 or 2 tier 10 TDs, or whatever, you know, tier they are, their top tier, chances of you dying are pretty high. You know, tier 10 TDs, that's like, what, imagine a Jagdpanzer 100 and a Death Star sitting there. You're dead in 2 shots. So, you know, you don't really have a lot of, as much as you might think that you have a lot of health at tier 10, you don't really have that much. So yeah. So as soon as you push this, just be careful of TDs. Make sure that you either have good view range so that you know about this, and if there's been someone spotted there, then you need to take extreme caution of when you're actually pushing. If they haven't, then chances are there might be one. I've never not seen a TD be spotted there. Well, I've never not seen a TD be not spotted, and then we go out and then there's one there. Because on this map you have it's quite small, so you have a lot of view range. So if there is a TD there, the chances of him shooting and then revealing his position at one stage or the other are quite high. So you're probably going to have spotted him at some point, and then you know that he's there. If not, then as you push this, TDs like to sit over there, and they also like to sit anywhere around here. So you need to take that in consideration when you are pushing. Make sure you use all of these to your advantage. And there's also a little bit of low ground here, so you can kind of hide from them. So if you are going over here, I suggest you make sure that you dip down here, and then you can push up here. Because as you can see, this is all raised up. So you should be pretty safe from anyone that's sitting around there. You can then try and flank people. Artillery likes to sit here, here, and around here, and God knows where else. But so always check around here and around here. But that is the heavy tanks over this side. and even how to push this. Over the other side is pretty much the same thing, apart from the TDs who might be sitting over here. So exactly the same thing, but the other side. Let's now move on to the TDs. Okay, so finally the TDs. Now, there's kind of two spots you can sit in. You can sit in this corner here, or you can sit over here. Just depends on how you want to play it. You can also knock down these trees here to your advantage, because knock down trees will offer you camo as well. Although that's really great. Good job, Max. I mean, yeah, that does work, but you'd really want this tree to go knock forwards like this, rather than like that. Oh well, this is only a little experiment video thing. Or should I say, a little bit of a... this is only kind of like a little showcase video, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so you want to just go here. You can back off behind these bushes or trees, and then shoot through them. You shouldn't be spotted. So here works really well. There's not really much to it. You can kind of see everywhere on the hill. As we can see right here. You can sort of see everywhere. If they're in these bushes, then you can shoot them no problems. So yeah, this spot very powerful. Let's now move over to the other side, which is going to be around here. You can kind of just go wherever you want around here and just camp this if you want to. Although at the start of the game, you might as well just go to this position right here. So yeah, let's now move on to the other side. Okay, so you can go over to that position, but that's more later on in the game if you've lost this side of the map. So you should really go over to this side and try and help out anybody that's over here. This is where you're probably going to get the most damage. Sure, you could go here and try and shoot the heavy tanks. It's up to you. But I would argue that the majority of people are going to go to the hill, rather than going over there. And from this position, you can actually shoot across onto the cap. So, I mean, okay, you can't see like all of it, but you can actually shoot a few people that are down there. So, it's not really the end of the world if you go up here and then there's no one there and then they've all pushed this, because you can still get damage done. But there's a bush right here that you can use to your advantage. As long as there's no one up there that's going to spot you when you shoot, you should be absolutely fine. And you can even go into the bush, spot through it, back off, do the good old sneaky shots, and then you got this as solid cover from anything that's over there. So that is basically it for this map guide review, whatever. If you did enjoy this video, then you know what to do. Come and join the Discord. Also follow me on Twitch. I'm not going to be streaming for the next week or so. Currently waiting on a new CPU, because at the moment it's like my FPS is kind of all over the place. And then when I actually stream, it just goes and tanks below like 60 sometimes. So it's kind of awful at the moment. But once we get all that sorted out, we're good. We'll be streaming again, all sorted. But come and join the Discord, because that is where I'm going to update everyone on what's going on. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all next time.